This video, we're going to talk about Jaehaerys II, the 16th Targaryen King to rule Westeros. Jaehaerys II took the throne in 259 AC after his father, Aegon V, died at Summerhall when a terrible fire broke out. He wore his grandfather Maekar's crown, had large purple eyes, shoulder-length hair, was pale and sickly, but clever and kind. Jaehaerys II was married to his sister Shira, and together they had two children, Aerys II and Rhaella. Jaehaerys' second children, Aerys and Rhaella, were commanded to marry by him, even though they didn't really want it. His two children would eventually have kids of their own, and we know them as Rhaegar, Viserys, and Daenerys. Interestingly, Jaehaerys II is quoted for saying, "Madness and greatness were two sides of the same coin. Every time a new Targaryen is born, the gods toss the coin in the air, and the world holds its breath to see how it will land." I love that this quote is attributed to him, since Jaehaerys II was on the saner side of the coin, and his son, Aerys II, was more on the crazier side. Jaehaerys II's rule was mostly peaceful, except for one tiny blip. Shortly after ascending the throne, the War of the Ninepenny Kings broke out, also known as the Fifth and Final Blackfire Rebellion. The Ninepenny Kings were a band of 9 that decided to come together to carve out kingdoms for each other. One of these members was Maelys Blackfyre, the last male heir Blackfyre descended from Daemon Blackfyre. If you want to have a more in-depth look at the war, you can watch our Ninepenny Kings War video. The gist, though, is that the Ninepenny Kings took the disputed lands in Essos, then the city of Tyrosh, and then the Stepstones. Jaehaerys II knew they would invade Westeros next, so he utilized the plans his father Aegon V had made, and launched an attack on 3 of the Stepstones in 260 AC. And interestingly, he actually wanted to go and lead the attack himself, but the Hand of the King, Ormond Baratheon, was like, "No, we just lost Aegon V, we just lost a bunch of Targaryens in the tragedy of Summerhall, we need you here with your wife, just in case anything happens, send me, I'll lead your army." And so Ormond Baratheon actually ends up leading the army and is in the Hand of the King. Many of the great houses fought on the Stepstones, and in this war, people such as Tywin Lannister, Barristan Selmy, and Brynden Tully become heavily influenced to become the men that they currently are, or were in the case that they're dead. Barristan Selmy himself slew Maelys Blackfyre in single combat and ended the war right there after he cut through the Golden Company. With Maelys Blackfyre dead, the rest of the Ninepenny Kings retreated as they had no interest in Westeros, so slaying Maelys basically won the war. And then half a year later, the Stepstones and the disputed lands would be free from the Band of Nine. Tyrosh would take a little bit longer, but eventually would be returned back to its natural order when the Ninepenny King member that was ruling it was poisoned by his queen. And the War of the Ninepenny Kings actually had a huge influence on the houses of Westeros, and so if that's something you're interested in, I would learn more about it. But after the Fifth and Final Blackfire Rebellion, the realm was mostly peaceful. Jaehaerys II ruled wisely and capably, even though he was very sickly and always had these different ailments and just had a rough time. He also helped reconcile many of the great houses that had grown very unhappy after Aegon V's rule. We remember Aegon V was trying to make these reforms to make it so that the small folk and the commoners had more rights and the lords had less power. And they were super PO'd about this, and Jaehaerys II came in and tried to start on doing that a little bit to reconcile with the great houses, especially after the great houses went to war and basically kept Westeros safe, so he kind of owed it to them too. However, despite ruling wisely and capably and helping the houses, Jaehaerys II was also a very sickly man, and only 3 years into his reign, he died of a short illness in 262 AC after complaining of shortness of breath. He was 37 years old when he died, and the throne would be passed on to his son, Aerys II, which is currently the last Targaryen king to rule Westeros. So make sure you come back next Sunday when we talk about Aerys II. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to break up his video into multiple parts because there's just way too much to talk about him. Also, make sure you come back Wednesday for our random Game of Thrones video. Otherwise, make sure you like and subscribe.